see a pick of some kind on the right side, possibly.
Montana throwing in the end zone. Dwight Clark.
Football has brought an unbelievable amount of joy and excitement over the years, giving us something to root for when we just don't have much to root for. Another reason to go out with friends and family, enjoy a game, just have a great time. But behind the roaring crowds and the big hits is a darker story. A long storied history of injuries that go beyond the field. One of the worst being brain injuries. And of course, concussions. Now, since surely I am not a doctor, here's one explaining exactly what a concussion is.
So concussion used to be thought of as the brain smashing against the inside of the skull, creating a bruise and damage to the actual outer part of the brain. But actually, it's damage to the inner part of the brain, because what happens is, because these two tissue layers are different densities, when the brain gets hit and the brain moves around inside the skull, what's happening is it's accelerating and decelerating, and these layers are actually shearing across one another and pulling apart and stretching. So that quick stretch of the brain cells is actually what creates the concussion injury. It's not necessarily the hitting of the brain on the skull, although that can happen too in more serious injuries.
While little was known about concussions and the extent of brain damage football had on players for decades, part of the reason why we know so much more now is from the league striving to be safer in an effort to learn more about these types of injuries. For years, whether it be through leadership ignoring the issue, or be it bad medical advice, specifically from Dr. Ira Casson of the previous NFL Concussion Committee, or more infamously known as Dr. No.
Ira Casson leads a team of NFL doctors who did a study of several hundred active players and reported that the concern over head injuries is overblown. Is there any evidence, as far as you're concerned, that links multiple head injuries among pro football players with depression?
No.
With dementia?
No.
With early onset of Alzheimer's?
No.
Is there any evidence as of today that links multiple head injuries with any long-term problem like that?
In NFL players?
Yeah.
No.
The league was just apprehensive to admit the dangers of inflicted brain damage by playing football, and refused to make the league safer for years. But what we can't forget is, so were the fans. When the NFL finally started changing the rules for a safer league, a lot of the fans were saying that it was going to make the league too soft. One story I remember most bringing CTE to the forefront was when Hall of Fame linebacker Junior Seau tragically took his own life in May of 2012.
But I don't know what I'm going to do, my son. That's only God. God, give me a power, give me a strength.
As well as former Chicago Bear Dave Durson, who'd believed in it so much that he had left a note requesting that his brain be studied for brain trauma. Now, Junior Seau didn't leave a note to do so, but as a beloved father, son, and brother, after his initial autopsy report showed no apparent signs of brain damage, his family just wasn't satisfied with that answer, and I don't think the fans were either. In search of answers, his family donated his brain tissue to the National Institute of Health.
To a person. Excellent player, and certainly going to be missed.
Yeah, definitely. That's why we're here tonight.
Love you, 55, forever, San Diego.
Miss you, dog.
The NIH released their findings showing definitive signs of chronic traumatic encephalopathy, or CTE. Remember, this is a player that did not have a single concussion declared over his 20-year career as a linebacker, a position at the top of the list when it comes to physical punishment on a football field. How can something so dangerous show no apparent signs in brain scans, not even found on an initial autopsy? And while they can now diagnose it upon autopsy, it's still true to this day that doctors cannot clinically diagnose CTE while a person is still alive. Due to a class action lawsuit settlement in 2015, the NFL has paid out and is still paying a huge settlement, currently over $1.3 billion, to over 1,600 former NFL players and their families. However, they came under fire earlier this year when it was reported by the Washington Post that 1,100 claims had been denied, 300 of which were diagnosed by the NFL's assigned settlement doctors, who apparently had an average wait time of 15 months for the claimants to even get an appointment to see. This has prevented additional payouts, estimating in over $700 million. One thing I would like to give Roger Goodell credit for is the huge strides in player safety the NFL has made since taking over as commissioner in 2006. But it did also take him getting dragged in front of Congress.
Congress considers concussions in the NFL.
Is getting into the game. They're looking into the long-term impact on NFL.
Will come to order.
Congress is looking into the long-term impact of concussion.
And the NFL's continuous denial to CTE compared to the tobacco industry for them to start actively taking steps.
The NFL sort of reminds me of the tobacco companies pre-90s when they kept saying, no, there's no link between smoking and damage to your health or ill health effects.
Now you could argue maybe it's just good business and he was just making the best business decision, and that the NFL has to make the most changes because it's one of the most violent. But hey, I'm a glass half full kind of guy, alright? And parents just aren't going to allow their kids to play football if they think that they won't be able to remember their family members at the age of 35. But after watching Junior Seau and many other former NFL players go from joyful, life-loving individuals to then turning towards the barrel of a gun, well, that just brings us to the most recent changes, and more importantly, the case of Tua Tagovailoa.
Let us get this party started with the commissioner.
With the 5th pick in the 2020 NFL Draft, the Miami Dolphins select Tua Tagovailoa.
Tua joined the NFL in 2020 as a 5th overall pick by the Miami Dolphins. After a tough first couple of years with then head coach Brian Flores and what was recently revealed to be a pretty volatile relationship.
If you woke up every morning and I told you you sucked at what you did, that you don't belong doing what you do, that you shouldn't be here, that you haven't earned this right, and then you have somebody else come in and tell you, dude, you are the best fit for this. How would it make you feel listening to one or the other?
And well, Tua's first 2 seasons in the NFL were just met with skepticism. Despite flashes of promise, he struggled to break a 90 passer rating and threw for just over 2,600 yards in a season. Critics were quick to label him a bust, questioning whether he could ever live up to the hype, along with the fact that Tua had already sustained multiple concussions. But Dolphin fans weren't ready to give up. If he could stay healthy, they had seen glimpses of a quarterback with excellent timing, accuracy, and decision-making, thinking that the right system could unlock his full potential.
As coach Mike McDaniel making big promises today as the latest leader of the Miami Dolphins. The new head coach was officially introduced just moments ago this morning.
So football, okay, and the Miami Dolphins, and what you can expect from us. Schematically, offense, defense, special teams, you're going to see a unique design of everything that's tailored to our players. And that's first and foremost.
In 2022, the Miami Dolphins replaced Brian Flores with the up-and-coming offensive mind of Mike McDaniels, bringing offensive innovation and creative play calling. With McDaniels at the helm, all of a sudden the Dolphins, led by Tua and newly acquired star wide receiver Tyreek Hill, they became one of the most electrifying offenses in all of football.
Great throw by Tua Tagovailoa.
Good protection, perfect throw, looking, fires deep downfield, wide open, Tyreek in stride, touchdown Miami!
What a throw by Tua Tagovailoa.
Almost breaking an NFL record last year, absolutely smoking the Denver Broncos 70-20. Unfortunately, before that stellar 2023 season, Tua had also sustained some pretty significant concussions. The first actually recorded in Alabama, then in 2022 against the Bengals in Week 4. Tua suffered a concussion so severe he had to leave the field on a stretcher. There was also a suspected concussion against the Buffalo Bills in Week 15 that wasn't officially declared, but many people speculate that he indeed had a concussion.
Getting up. Oh my goodness, that's an awful sight to see. They will take him to the sideline.
And then the very next week, on Christmas Day against the Packers, missing the rest of the 2022 season. Each one being more painful to watch than the last, sparking so much outrage that the league had to respond. the league implemented new concussion protocols stating a player showing signs of ataxia during a game must be removed and not allowed to enter, as well as loss of consciousness, confusion, or amnesia. Prior to this change, you were allowed to return if you were evaluated and permitted to by the team doctor and an unaffiliated neurotrauma consultant. After recovering in the offseason, even considering retirement,
yeah, I think I considered it, for a time, having sat down with my family, having sat down with my wife and having those kind of conversations. It would be hard for me to walk away from this game with how old I am. It's my health, it's my body, and I feel like this is what's best for me and my family. So, I mean, I love the game of football. If I didn't, I would have quit a long time.
Tua was on a mission to improve his game and prevent hits that could lead to another concussion, even taking judo.
We got like a plan set up, and I'll be doing judo on Fridays just so that I can kind of figure out, like understanding my body and how to fall.
And it seemed like it was working. After a stellar 2023 season, suffering no significant injuries, earning himself a huge $212 million contract. Tua's concussion problems seemed like a thing of the past, which brings us to week 2 of this year.
Good evening, Bills Mafia. We are coming to you from Hard Rock Stadium in Miami Gardens, Florida on a muggy evening here for Buffalo's first division matchup of the season as the 1-0 Dolphins host the 1-0 Bills.
With the whole nation watching, and what most thought was going to be a battle of 2 AFC favorites to go to the Super Bowl, Miami had actually been getting manhandled by Buffalo.
Tua back to pass. It's looking deep down the right sideline. He overshot it and it's intercepted. Picked off by Christian Benford. And it's intercepted. Coming the other way and going for 6. Tua's third pick of the night.
And at the end of the third quarter, in an effort to spark some life into the game and into his teammates,
Tua back to pass, steps up in the pocket, gonna take off and run, and he's hit there. Yes, he did. Tua 6 yards on the carry, but he is down. He took a shot to the head on the tackle there, and he is shaken up.
As Tua drops to the ground, looking like he's starting to seize, players quickly call over the medical staff. Viewers in the stadium and at home, knowing his history, couldn't help but think of the worst, but hope for the best. Immediately, fans, journalists, and broadcasters alike were asking the question, is it time for Tua to retire?
Everybody 2 years ago was thinking that Tua should not play football again. Now it happens again on primetime football. Feels like everybody's calling for him to not play football, not play football, not play football. I think it's going to be very difficult to tell Tua not to play football again.
We need to take time because this is not an ACL. This is not an Achilles. This is not a shoulder or a thumb. This is your brain. When you talk about your head, you only get one brain. You only get one head. I really think that family and friends around him, let's take the football part out of it because that's only a sport, right? That's a small part of your life. The family, everything, and living with your children, taking them to school. You talked about putting your daughter to bed. Like, all the things matter. And I think he should really take some serious time.
What about his wife? What about his father? What about his brother? What about his sister? What about his friend? I love you, bro. I don't want to keep seeing you like this.
He gets told all the risks, all the everything. It should be his decision. I also believe that if he were someone in my life, I would say, man, it's a cruel reality that the thing you have worked for your whole life, your body doesn't seem to be built for.
Well, Mike McDaniels had an answer to everyone talking about it after the game.
I just really, really, really wish, I totally understand it, and it's not misplaced. I totally get how that's where people want to go to. I just wish that people would for a second hear what I'm saying, that bringing up his future is not in the best interest of him.
Look, Tua has been the subject of some of the most unsettling football moments on television over the past few years, and according to the latest reports, he's decided that he's in fact going to continue playing football, with no clear timeline on the table, which now has some people asking if the team or the NFL should step in and force Tua to retire. Of course, it seems objectively unfair to force a grown man a professional athlete, if evaluated and cleared by medical professionals, to instead retire from the game he's worked so hard to be a part of. But this was also his third official and realistically fourth that we know of in the NFL. But with him only playing in the league for 2 years before stricter concussion protocols were implemented, not even counting the years in college or before that, are we sure he's only had 3 or 4? And his concussions just quite simply look different than other guys. And I think what makes this situation particularly sad, by all accounts, Tua is genuinely a great human being on and off the field.
I just can't thank you guys enough for the love and support. It's always been a dream of mine to have this opportunity to play in the NFL. And it's not just my dream that I carry with me. It's my parents' dream that I carry. It's my family's dream that I carry. And everything that I do, that's what I represent. So I just want to thank all of you guys for being here in support of this event, in support of not just me, but my family.
I mean, come on. How could you not want a guy like that to succeed? So to see a guy with determination work hard towards a goal all his life, achieves his goal, and is able to provide generational wealth for his family, actually feels obligated to earn that huge contract he just received from the Miami Dolphins. But the unfortunate truth is that life is just unfair sometimes, and his body just seems like it's not built to play NFL professional football. Because when we look at his concussions, the hits he's taken before were pretty brutal hits, but this most recent one, not only was it not a particularly hard hit, it was Tua hitting another player. While learning jiu-jitsu might have helped him learn how to fall and control his body, helping him throughout the 2023 season, there's simply no way to prevent the type of hit that we saw on Thursday Night Football. This isn't like saying, well, it could take a 1 in a million type of play for it to happen again. In fact, it's possible on every single play. This is where I do understand those who say the league or the Miami Dolphins may have to step in, because at a point, you have to think of the other players on the field too. Although you are rivals in that moment on the football field, and they want to beat you, no player wants to be the reason he doesn't remember his kids and spends a lesser life with his family after football. Nobody genuinely wants to permanently damage another player. Think of the player on the other end of his most recent concussion, Damar Hamlin, who understands better than anyone on this planet, who, if you remember last year, suffered cardiac arrest mid-game and had to be revived back to life on the field.
Welcome back to Cincinnati, where medical personnel have been working on Bills safety Damar Hamlin for the last 9 minutes. Hamlin made a hit. He got up, took a couple of steps, and then just fell to the ground.
And when Tua goes back on the field, not only will every fan be on the edge of their seats on every single down he is on that field, some players may just be apprehensive to tackle him, or they may just treat him different, which would be a problem for competition. Look, I hope he has an incredible 50-year career and has the strongest brain a person has ever had in the Milky Way galaxy. But I do think people are genuinely concerned for Tua, and not in a hateful way hoping for his downfall or his career to end. But after watching CTE devastate numerous former NFL players and their families during or even years after their career, you can't help but not want that to happen to Tua as well. I wish Tua the best, and I know you guys do too. Thanks for watching. My name's Marty. Until next time.